from professionals with real-life work experience. All our programs are based in 3 fundamental principles: work readiness, financial literacy, and entrepreneurship. For example, in JA Company program, young people learn how to start and run a business. In JA Job Shadow, a student joins a mentor in a professional work setting. And students in the JA More Than Money program study the ins and outs of earning, spending, and saving. And these are only 3 of the more than 50 different programs that JA offers. Our network of staff, volunteers, and partner schools reaches young people all over the world, from major cities to rural communities and everywhere in between. And it works, because we pay attention to the needs in each region, and then we customize our programs so that JA students will be ready for the job markets they're about to enter. We even customize our own name. But at the end of the day, we're all one JA, JA Worldwide. And the core of our organization is the same everywhere. JA inspires and prepares young people to succeed in a global economy. Whoever they are, wherever they are, JA activates young people for the future of jobs.
Great leaders are able to envision the future in ways that previous generations or people around them have not been able to envision. But then to be able to convert that vision into action and to be able to maintain a focus on that vision, that's what makes and defines great leadership.
At tGELF, we are committed to identifying, nurturing, and developing young leaders who have a global perspective and acceptance of diversity, a commitment to inclusiveness, and the desire to serve the community. Through our very own unique transformative leadership process, we instill fundamental values in young adults, empowering them to lead the change, to help shape a better world.
There's such a need to infuse, not just talk about leadership, but what kind of a leadership does the world need?
At tGELF, we have partnered with schools around the world across all income levels to identify and nurture tomorrow's leaders.
tGELF was born out of the idea that the challenges that we face are so daunting that the only way to deal with these challenges is going to be to have leadership capital, human capital, of such a high caliber and so deeply rooted in its fundamental values and ethics that it will be able to actually deal with the challenge of leadership required to deal with what lies ahead.
Every year, we invite schools to participate in an annual event we call Harmony, where selected students develop creative, collaborative, spiritual, and leadership skills. Then in grades 11 and 12, we work closely with the students to identify future leaders who we mentor and support. Since 2008, our selected leaders have received scholarships to attend some of the best universities and programs in India, the UK, and the United States.
Our objective as tGELF is to identify these young leaders, to nurture them, to train the teachers, and then to support these young leaders on their journey towards leadership.
I believe that tGELF has given me an excellent opportunity to meet others, to discuss my passions, to find others who may share similar ambitions. And yet, I feel that while pursuing my ambitions, while trying to fulfill my aspiration, I can also devote my life to a cause greater than myself.
How can you get involved? Become a mentor and guide our leaders. Refer a young leader or school or organization we should partner with. Work with us to take our programs around the world. tGELF, leading the change.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first session of the day. I'm Mehek, and I'll be your host for the next 3 days. I hope to make this a very fun and exciting and a great learning experience for you all. I also would like to point out that this session is being live streamed. And on that note, we are very glad that you could join us for the JA Asia Pacific Company of the Year Competition 2023. A big round of applause for all of you. Through this competition, tGELF JA India seeks to empower the youth to become problem solvers and job creators instead of job seekers. It will activate startup skills and encourage students to create innovative, entrepreneurial business projects in both product and service businesses. So before we begin the session, we would like to introduce some of our budding entrepreneurs through a short video.
Hi, my name is Josephine Lucas.
My name is Shashwat Pandey.
My name is Rita Garg. My name is Mrs. Sakuragi.
My name is Lingesh.
I'm Daniela Nicole Ramkun.
I am Dashana Mittal.
I am Darislav Eriksha.
My name is Shamin. I'm the Managing Director of Dynamic Enterprise Formulation.
The Vice President of Production of Seabasco Steering Company.
The Chief Executive Officer of TOTI.
I'm the Finance Director of Cross.
I am the one of Production Department employees of Cornell.
I'm the Vice President for Marketing of Paraiba.
I am the Chief Financial Officer of Soulsco.
The Chief Executive Officer of Kaliasco.
I'm the Vice President of Marketing of Sunset from Simple. We are JA.
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 There's more to come in the later sessions today, so just if you feel that you haven't been covered yet in the video, don't fret, there's still more to come. So now, before we move on to the main session, which will focus on the much needed skills that you, the young leaders, require to manage a project successfully, I'm sure most of these skills, if not all, have been applied by you at some point in your life. So to talk to you today, we are joined by two project management professionals who have flown in from Hyderabad, Nikhil Rai and Kalyan Sunkari. Mr. Nikhil Rai is currently in a senior management role, heading the program management team with Providence. He has 19 plus years of industry-wide experience in driving many projects and products from inception to go live. He has previously worked with the state of Ohio, Universal Studios, Boeing, before joining Providence. He worked as the head of the pre-sales team for the global AT&T and IBM partnership of $250+ million in value. A big round of applause for Mr. Nikhil Rai. Next up, we have Mr. Kalyan Sunkari. He is a senior engineering program manager handling the BI team with Providence. He also has 13 plus years of industry-wide experience in driving many projects and products from inception to go live. Prior to working at Providence, he was the technical product owner at Merck Life Sciences Private Limited, and he has also held the leadership role as the program manager at Accenture. A big round of applause for Mr. Kalyan Sunkari. We welcome you both, and over to you.
Hello. Well, I'm not going to stand here and talk for an hour and have you guys be quiet, so don't expect that. I want everybody talking back to me, so that's pretty much required. My name is Nikhil Rai, but I just go by Nick. Do you want to play the thing? Oh, cool. Okay. Do you want to give it to me? Oh, okay. No, I just want to click it. Oh, cool. You stole it. Okay. So we are from a company called Providence Healthcare. We are a US-based company, a healthcare company. We're probably one of the biggest in the United States. We are basically based out of the West Coast, where we have 120,000 caregivers. We call all our employees at Providence as caregivers, not as employees. So we live by the vision, which is health for a better world. We live by it every single day. We work by this vision. This is what is important to us, and all our projects, our engineering work, everything else comes back to this vision. We also have these values, and we literally talk about these values every day, all through the year. So you have compassion, dignity, justice, excellence, integrity. This is very much important. We have been in India only for the last 3 years. We are in Hyderabad with 1,300 caregivers, so it's pretty big. We started during the whole Corona time in Hyderabad, which is really crazy. When everything else was shut, we were starting back up there. And yeah, that's a little bit about Providence and Providence Healthcare. Let me move on. The journey that we are in Health 1.0. Everybody knows about healthcare. This is where we are, the physicians and the doctors, and when you go to the hospitals, this is what we are. But we're all headed towards healthcare 2.0. That's what we are doing in Hyderabad. That's what we're doing in the US. What's it all about? It's about bringing technology, bringing cloud. So if you know about healthcare, you have a lot of sensitive information about all your customers and stuff like that. But we were all afraid about using cloud, using technology. But now we're starting to move all that information to the cloud. We're trying to bring the engineering and the technology that you have in finance into healthcare. It's easier said than done. It's not been done for ages. And we are one of the leading hospital or healthcare firms trying to do this. So it's pretty big for us. And yeah, so it's a little bit about Providence Healthcare and our journey in US as well as in Hyderabad, India. So. What we're here today to tell you about is introduction to project management, stakeholder management, and risk management. We also want to give you some tools for project management, which hopefully is going to help you in your ventures, in your companies, and stuff like that. I had a quick question when we were looking at the Company of the Year documents. We saw all these really awesome titles as managing directors and COO and CEO. Did you guys have project managers, program managers? Anybody? No, nobody? Nobody had a PM title in your company? Not a single one? So who did all the work in your company? The CEO, the CEO? Yeah? Who handled the delivery of the product delivery? You all had product managers? No? Yes? Which country are you from? Philippines. And you all had product managers? Awesome. And nobody else had project managers and product? Okay. Yeah, so you had a product manager, right? Yeah. Okay, awesome. So a little bit of it. So yeah, we're going to tell you a little bit about project management today, how it's going to make your life easy, how it's pretty awesome, and why it's so important to have project management in your companies, in your lives, and all of that. You can use project management at home too, not only in your company. So, yeah. Something that we think about project management, it's also about the knowledge, the tools, the techniques. It all comes together. That's what project management is. There's no one-click button that just says, hey, project management, you've done it, you're a project manager now. So there's a lot of different things. We talk about scope. Anybody know what scope means? Project scope? Yes? You have to speak louder.
Basically the range of the targets that you are, like the goal that you are trying to accomplish.
Yeah, you set your goals, you said that this is what I'm going to do when I start a project or a program and stuff like that. So it's pre-decided and it can change. It always changes. You have cost. Communication is so important for project managers, and quality and schedule and risk management and stakeholder management are the two things that we're going to talk to you about today, that these are the two things can make or break you. So we're going to have Kalyan who's going to go more dwell into it. Resources, procurement. I'm sure you guys all did procurement, right? To make your products and all that. Did you have like processes, or did you just go to the market and say, hey, I'm going to buy these 10 things and go and make a project? Did you all make a plan on what you're going to procure? Stuff like, yeah, so that's all project management. So I think you guys have all done project management, you just don't know that you've done project management. So that's the cool thing about it. So. Had a question for you guys. I mean, I'm not trying to convert you guys to project managers. It's pretty awesome that you guys have got your own companies and stuff. Hopefully you can hire some project managers in your companies. Anybody, what do you think the answer to this question is? What's the number of PM positions to be filled every year through 2030 across the global management industry? Any idea per year across the world? Any guesses? Come on, you can guess. How many? 100 million? Anything else? That's crazy, but yeah, sure. Okay. It's 2.7 million positions, which is a lot of positions. And we're not coming close to filling these positions. Project management is a proper degree or a certification and stuff like that, but people go through different ventures in their life and then end up in project managers and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a huge void, and hopefully y'all or somebody you know who can fill this void. So it's a big number, and this is 2.7 million per year all the way to 2030. So, yeah. Cool. There's something called the triple constraint triangle or the iron triangle of project management. It's not as easy as it looks, but it all comes down to these four things. It's a fun little triangle, and a whole project can basically deviate in any direction thanks to this triangle. The four main things are time, cost, quality, and scope. Let me tell you about you know the Olympics, right? It's in different countries and stuff like that. You know, they say that, hey, we're going to do an Olympics in 2025 in the month of August. Okay, so that's a project that the Olympics is going to happen in this country in 2025 in the month of August. So basically, that's a time-constrained project that you have to deliver by 2025. But what happens against it is you can't have time, cost, and scope and quality. It's not the best of all worlds. You can either pick, you want a time or do you want cost. So if you go after that, I have to deliver by 2025, you got to let go of cost because you're trying to speed and meet at a certain time, or you may have to change your scope. Maybe you, instead of making a huge stadium, you make a smaller stadium. So that's something on the time specific of a project. So there's things that we call is you can't have good, cheap, and fast. It's not possible. I know it may be in the best world, but it's not possible to have something which is good, cheap, okay? It's not. And so those are the things that you have. So in terms of cost, a cost-constrained project is you have $100 million to deliver a project, but then when you have certain amount of money, your quality or your scope or your time may go. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is you have time, cost, and scope and quality. So if you go after one, the other one or two do kind of take the second ground. So you kind of got to decide, do you want to play in the middle or do you want to focus after time? So this is how you break up different projects. So any questions about the iron triangle? And what we do is when we do our project planning, a triangle can kind of go towards either one of these four places. The best place to be is obviously in the middle, where you have all of them, but it's always skewed, so it's not the easiest thing in the world. Anybody knows, so everybody's heard of project management, right? Anybody's not? Yeah? No? Do you know what program management is? Have you heard of portfolio management? No? Nobody's heard of portfolio and program management? New words for you? So it all starts in project management. Project management is basically, I give you a small project of being here today. I give you a project of completing the day or going to the other hotel. It could be a smaller project. It's something which is very definite, could be small, time constraint or money constraint. It's a smaller project that goes from A to Z, and you have to deliver something. Now you have programs, which is a cluster of projects, and you may have 10 projects that's basically saying, hey, you're going to be in the hotel today, and it's going to be all the teams. So each team is going to be a different project, and all the projects have the similar scope and the similar, whatever the end goal is the same. So that's a program. So that's the main difference between a project and a program. So you can have multiple projects that are all leading towards the same goal of the program. You also have something called portfolio management. That's pretty big. That's basically on the business level. I know it's pretty big. So you guys are starting your companies and stuff like that, or you already have. You're going to have a portfolio, which is basically, hey, this is my portfolio for my business. Now, your portfolio can have multiple programs, and each program can have multiple projects, which support all the way up to the program and then up to the portfolio. So the main things is you look at project management as delivering the scope, the quality, and stuff like that. Program management is you're handling the stakeholders, and portfolio is always aligned to the overall business. So this is how you differentiate. There's two different things in project management. I think the people from PMI would probably talk about it. PMI was always, and project management was always about waterfall. The whole waterfall way of doing things was you do A, then you do B, C, D, E, F, and it always, you can't do C without doing B, and you can't do B without doing A. And that's basically, this is the waterfall way. And we've been doing this since, I think it started back in World War II, if I'm not mistaken. People had set it all up that, hey, you got to do this. If you want to shoot a gun or artillery, you have to do this and this and this and this. So this is a very old model, and it's worked. It's worked fantastically. It also works in this day and age. How about making a car? Can you, you have to make the wheels, then you have to make the chassis. Can you make maybe the engine afterwards? And then, hey, here's your car. So you have steps that lead up to making a car. It goes through the line of production. So they use a lot of waterfall. This is something new that we all are dwelling into in this day and age. It's called the Agile way, the Agile methodology. Anybody hear about what Agile is? Agile? Nobody? You have? Well, you have all the answers. Okay. What do you think Agile is? Yeah. Agile is willing to change. It's you have to be prepared. There's no set scope. There's nothing set. You have to adapt to change. That's what it's all about. So basically, in the waterfall way, you went, hey, A, B, C, you initiate, you plan, you execute, you monitor, and you close the project. We always stuck to these 5 steps, and we never looked any other way. The new Agile way, and this is where PMI and a lot of project management around the world is deviating to, is basically you plan something, you do it, you check it, you recheck it, you adjust, and then you keep doing it over and over again. There's no start, there's no close. So this is basically the Agile way, and it works. It works fantastically. We have sprints and all these other things. So that's a whole different way of doing things. Some companies are fully Agile, some companies are waterfall. There is no right answer, okay? So I'm not saying waterfall is good and bad or Agile is, it's basically what works well for your company. You can plug that in. So that's basically waterfall and Agile. Here, anatomy of a project manager. So anybody except you can help me answer these questions because you have all the answers. I'm going to ask you these questions. So this is what we feel. We found this on a lot of PMI pages and stuff like that. What do we think a really good project manager needs to be? What do you think I for detail means? Come on, you guys have to talk.
Perhaps that's important for the quality control aspect of it. So making sure the product or the service that you're putting out is of the highest quality.
Yeah, you always have to hire. And then you have head on straight. What do you think head on straight means? Oh, no, not you again. Okay. Anybody else? Head on straight, okay.
Like a lot of decisions could be theoretical, but whether you can actually implement them with the resources you have available.
Yeah, love it. Awesome. Gift of jab. That's kind of cool.
I think it basically means how you
communicate with others, because communication is a very integral part of any management position, honestly.
Yeah.
And so a project manager needs to have the gift of gab to be able to get his point across clearly and to make everybody listen to him.
Yeah, him or her.
Him or her, yes.
Yeah.
Very good. I love that.
Yeah. So I agree. Communication is so important. We have something called, we make communication plans. We actually have full-blown plans that we do for communication and project management. It's so important to communicate and communicate well. We have a little exercise we're going to do about communication with y'all pretty soon. But yeah, that's very, very important. Looks over their shoulder. Again, no, we're going to go to this side. Okay, there you go.
Basically, planning and looking at the risks involved in a business before taking over any decision.
Yeah. So looking over their shoulders and stuff like that. So you always have to be prepared for something to go wrong. And we always have this as project managers that, okay, we're going to plan for the worst. We're going to plan that something is definitely going to break, because if everything was so good and tushy in this world, I don't think we would have a job. So it's always anticipated that something's going to break and we're going to be ready for it. So that's just all about. Nerves of steel. Yeah, go ahead.
It basically means that you cannot get intimidated by anybody else. You cannot freeze up. You cannot get nervous. Even if you are, you have to be very good at hiding it, because you have to just establish your superiority, I suppose.
Yeah, so there's also, there's a word called servant leader, which is very big in Agile and project management. A servant leader, so you have leaders. You guys, I know you guys are MDs and CEOs and stuff like that. A servant leader is you're a leader for your team, and you're a servant for them. I know it sounds kind of goofy, but you're there for them rather than them being there for you. You go in and solve their problems. They tell you their problems, and you're their servant to solve all their problems. So that's the new leadership way that a lot of project managers or other leaders are going, is the servant leadership. There's nothing wrong with it. It's basically, if I am part of your team, I feel comfortable coming to you with my problems, and you are there to solve my problems. So that's it's all about. What about elbow grease? Do you think project managers just sit in a fun little air-conditioned cabin and just balk orders and everything just happens? Like, what do you think, elbow grease means in a project manager? Okay.
You're not afraid to get your hands dirty, essentially. You're not afraid to actually go out and do the work rather than just telling other people to do it for you.
Yeah, you should be able to pull up your sleeves, go out there on the floor, just do it yourself, have other people follow you. And these are all tools of a good leader. A project manager is a form of a leader, and these are the right things to do. So, yeah. Gut feeling. Someone on this side. No one's saying anything on this side. Come on, I'm going to start picking if you don't say. Gut feeling, what do you think?
You should go with your gut feeling. Basically, sometimes your guts tell you to do something, but like you're afraid of doing it. But sometimes you should just go with it and, trust yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, gut feeling is very, very important, because I'll be honest, I have taken so many wrong decisions in my projects, and I'm okay with it. Because if you feel comfortable to take the decision and you're not scared of going down left or right or back or front, it's fine. You have a gut feeling. You're not going to be always right, but you're going to learn from those decisions that you make. So, yeah. Has a leg up? Anybody? Okay.
As you mentioned, servant leader. So there are a lot of decisions that you have to make, and obviously some of them don't go right. But even when you go wrong, to be able to overcome the mistakes that have been made and to still reach for the success of the venture, that's what's important as a project manager.
Absolutely, yeah.
To add to that, as a project manager, you always have to be ready to help other fellow employees with their obstacles and problems, even though it's not from your department.
Yes, that's awesome. Yeah, always be helpful, always be ready, to go out there and help. It's, in the older companies, I'm sure the people in the front row, we would always hear, right? This is not my job. This is not my team. This is not my scope of work. Things are changing now. You know, we all come together as a team, as a company, and we all solve problems, and not just say, hey, this is not for me. So that's a way of doing it. Heart of gold. I know this kind of sounds like, hey, why do you have that there?
I think being a project manager, you should always be open to new ideas and listen to others. So it requires your good nature and the ability to hear and accept other ideas rather than just focusing or dominating others.
Yeah, that's one way. And then the other thing also, when things go right, you want to make sure that you're not taking all the praises. You pass all the praises off to your team, because a project manager cannot succeed all by himself or herself. But when things go wrong, you got to stand in the front and take all the blame on yourself also. So you have to heart out gold to give away the good stuff and then catch all the bad stuff. So yeah. Thick-skinned. Yeah, it's a little bit on what I just said. Yeah.
Basically being able to take constructive criticism.
Yeah.
So not taking anything to heart and you know, believing in whatever they're doing, while at the same time not being afraid to open up and implement new ideas which somebody else may tell them about.
Yeah, imagine, you know, the CEO walks in and says, oh, you did a god-awful job and you know, just horrible, get out of here. And I start weeping and I just give up, right? You have to be thick-skinned. We're here only for one goal and one goal. It's to get that team there, to deliver the project, and we can't let the emotions break us down. So yeah, that's quite important. A hands-on leader, I know we spoke about that. On their toes. Last one, yeah. Back, yeah. I'm going to make you guys speak more.
Basically, able to combat the changes or the situation that has changed and accustom themselves to the ever-growing situation.
Awesome, yeah. Cool, so this is just few things what a project manager needs. It's not all of it. There's so much more to it. Yeah, please.
I actually have a question.
Yes.
There's a saying called that leaders are the last to lead. So what does it imply?
Basically, I think the whole word of leadership has changed. You know, I'm going to also try to have them, because they've been quiet. What do you think about that? Yes, you. I'm going to make, yeah, it's like.
Well, to me, one of the signs of being a good leader is actually not wanting to be a leader, not being hungry for that praise or for the power. And I think this really feeds nicely into the context of servant leadership.
Yes.
At the end of the day, leader's goal, a good leader's goal, should be to unleash the potential of the people around them.
Absolutely, yeah. We don't want to be power hungry, right? Yes, we're all human beings at the end of the day. Power gets to us. We like to balk orders and commands, but yeah, I so agree. You know, that's the right way to do it. Yeah. Sweet. So yeah, there's a lot more to it, and yeah, it's not the easiest job. It's not the hardest job, but it's a great job to have. And you got to be sociable. You got to communicate a lot, and you're just gonna take everything that comes your way and just keep going. Just keep going one step at a time, and it's all gonna just be positive that you're gonna make it at the end of the day. So yeah. I'm just going to talk to you very quickly about the 5 steps in the project management phases. You saw that in the waterfall way as well. Initiation is basically the first step. This is where you define the new project. Something that we do in our company as well. When we start a new project, we just don't go and say, hey, you know what? We have a team of 10, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. No. We come up with, hey, what is the mission? What is the vision? What is the business value? What is the tech value? We make something called a project charter. Have you guys heard of the word of charter, project charter? What do you guys think that is? Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So it's got a mission, it's got the vision. We talk about risks, what could go wrong, how much money we have. So we plan it all out. We are planners. We plan overly to make sure that everything goes smoothly. even though there could be scenarios that could go all wrong. So we plan for the worst. Okay? So that's basically you planning the vision of the project. That's the first phase of any project. In the planning phase is where you really go into the detail. You go into, hey, if I have to make a project, I need to know what's the cost, what's the material, how much time is it going to make. You're going to make a communication plan, or WBS. A WBS is called a work breakdown structure. You have a lot of tools, Gantt charts. So we make all these tools. We have Kalyan who's going to talk about RAID. We do risk assessment. And that's when we actually start making all these plans, that this is what we're going to need to be able to go and deliver our projects. Executing is basically, now we made all these fun plans, now let's go execute them, right? It's not all about having great plans on paper till you can't basically succeed in the execution phase. Something that's always happening between the planning and execution phase is you're constantly monitoring and controlling. You may go back, change your plans, and say, hey, you know what, my performance is not as well, the quality is slipping, or the cost is going up. So we're constantly making changes to the planning, and thereby our execution phase is changing. So it's a constant thing till we get to the closing of the project. The closing of the project is basically we bring all the stakeholders together. We say, hey, are you happy? Did we deliver the project that we intended to? Did the scope change? Things change, right? You go start off to make something and it ends up being something else and something better. Who knows? So that's basically the high-level project phases that we always work on. Everybody has a paper and a pen. Do you guys have a pen and a paper? Yeah? Okay. I'm going to give you guys a fun activity to do. All I want you to do is draw me a house. That's it. Draw me a house. And I'm going to give you guys 60 seconds. I'm going to time you guys. Okay. Okay. Halfway through. Got halfway through now. Draw me a house. That's all I want. Got 15 seconds. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's all stop. Okay, so we're going to go by countries here. Indonesia, okay. Let me just raise all your paper. Show me a house. Wow, you made all that in 60 seconds? Okay. Okay, you got trees and a fence and all that. Yeah. Lift it high. Let everybody else see it. Only Indonesia, okay. You got a pyramid house, and yeah. Okay, what's the next country? Show me your houses. Oh, wow, you guys went real creative. What is that, a little crate? Oh, the pathway, okay. And you have multiple houses. Okay. A pool, okay. Which country? Oh, you went creative. Oh, wow, look at you. Oh, wow, okay. You were supposed to do it on the pen and paper, but good for you. Technology, okay. Awesome. Next country. India, oh, okay, wow. Lovely. Awesome. What's that, a whole tower? Oh, wow, okay. Nice. Country in the back. Malaysia, okay. Nice. Okay, wow, that's an awesome house. Country up in here in the front, you guys. Show us your houses. Don't be afraid. Higher. Did you not draw a house? Yeah, you. No house for you? Okay. There's just one house in the whole country here? Did you guys make it together? Okay, teamwork. Okay, good, teamwork. And this is which country? Oh, okay. cool. Awesome. You have a slide in your house? Okay. Philippines. Oh, you got mansions and stuff there. Okay, wonderful. Okay, last but not least. Nice, very, very nice. Awesome. So I know you're like, wait, why is this weird guy making me draw houses? But just gonna give you something, right? I just said, draw me a house. I didn't tell you what I wanted. Basically, we all are all different in this room, right? You know, you have mansions, town scrapers, different roads, all kinds of slides, I don't know, all kinds of fun stuff out there. So this just shows you that no two houses are the same, and everybody has their own mindset and their own vision and their mission for their life, and what house they want, and stuff like that. So I'm gonna play a project manager now. You're my team, okay? Get another piece of paper or another slide on your phone. Okay, so now I'm gonna give you some instructions. I'm the project manager. You guys ready? Everybody ready? Okay. So I'm gonna tell you what I want for a house. I basically want a house which is 2 stories, got a car park garage, 2 palm trees in the front, okay, and 4 windows. Okay, draw me a house. No, too many windows? Too little? Okay. Okay, come on. 45 seconds. Okay, 30 seconds. Okay, last 10 seconds. Okay, we're done. Okay, now let's all raise our houses and let's see whether we all made it. Oh, wow, look at that. They all look so similar. Just the palm trees are in different places. I could be more creative saying I want one on either side. Generally, they all are the same. You have a little bit creativity here and there. Yeah, that's awesome. So do you just see we have the whole room aligned now, basically from 9 different countries, all are kind of making a similar house. So this is what project management does, right? We kind of bring structure to the project, structure to a task. That's what all project management is about. You may laugh looking at this, but it actually happens. It happens even with the best of the project managers. It happens till date. It happens all the time. So don't think that, oh, this cannot happen if you have the best of project managers. You know, you have slide 1 where, hey, you know what, the customer wanted a slide, you know, with 3 decks, but the project leader said, hey, I want something else. And you have the programmers or the construction people who made it something else. And basically, you ended up with something which completely different what the customer wanted, because you have so many people involved, so many different ways of thinking, different stakeholders, a lot of different communication, and this is where your communication is lacking. So the project manager, like you rightfully said, brings that communication, brings the structure, brings the scope. How do we deliver? And that's the glue. So project manager in project management is the glue that holds the whole team together with a lot of responsibility. So yeah. Just going to close it off with this. The key elements of project planning, it's very important for you guys, you know, when you start your projects, hey, let's identify all these stakeholders. Everybody who's on the table or on the project or on the team, we say, hey, you're the project manager, we're this. We don't want everybody saying, hey, today I'm going to be the project manager, tomorrow it's your turn, and so and so. So we define the roles and responsibilities, we hold off kickoff meetings, the budget, and all of that is basically all set. You define what has to be delivered, what is your end goal, what is your mission, your vision. And we use a lot of tools, which Kalyan will talk to you about. And one biggest thing is we always do risk assessment. We always do. There's never a happy world that a project goes all well. And if you don't do a risk assessment, you're not ready for something that could go terribly wrong. So yeah, that's basically a little bit about the project phases. I'm going to pass it off to Kalyan, who's going to talk to you about stakeholder management and risk. And we should be all done, but thank you. I hope I didn't bore you guys, so appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you, Nick, for the wonderful insights. Very good afternoon. Almost it's 12, so yeah, good afternoon, everyone. It gives me a pleasure to be along with these bright young minds in this room, okay? And before we go ahead with the session, I would just request you all to raise your hands. Just participate with me. Just raise your hands. Everyone, yeah. Just gently pat on your back. Yeah, for the wonderful, great projects you've delivered. I've gone through the projects, they're very great, okay? It's really good work. Yes. So while doing your projects, you might have identified your stakeholders, right? So who is a stakeholder? So stakeholder can be a person or a group of people or an organization who would influence your decision making, who would influence your product or the project as well, okay? They can impact you to have a business outcome of that entire project would be dependent on these stakeholders. So stakeholders can be member of your organization or they cannot be affiliated to your organization as well. You all done your projects, right? You have identified your stakeholders. Can you quickly name who are the stakeholders you have identified for your projects? Yeah? Okay. Great. Good. Anyone wants to take some more guesses? Who would be the stakeholders? Yeah? Good. Yeah? Anyone else?
The shareholders who invested in the company.
Definitely. They would be a stakeholder because they want to make money out of your company. Yeah? Any other guesses from this side? Yeah, end customer would be a perfectly stakeholder.
Yeah.
Suppliers. Buyers, yeah, suppliers.
No, yes, suppliers.
Yeah, yeah, great. Good. So yes, we all come across these multiple peoples, right? So most of the stakeholders can be broadly classified into two categories, okay? So they can be called as your internal stakeholders, who would be your sponsor, who is sponsoring for your project, okay, and your clients, your project management team, management and your portfolios, okay? And the next category of the stakeholders would be your external stakeholders, like we have called it out, like your end users, your suppliers, contractors, the government, the local authorities, and the media as well, in some cases. So now we have identified, look, any project would have only these kind of stakeholders. They would be internal and external. So now can you relate to your projects and understand who are all your stakeholders when you are doing with your projects? Because when you're building any project, right, or you're a product you're developing, you would go to your government for your approvals. And they would have an influence on the project outcome of it. Whether they would be having a positive outcome or a negative outcome would be dependent on the stakeholder over there. So it's always good to identify your stakeholders so that you can plan and have a meaningful engagement with them. Okay? So now we have done your project, you've identified your stakeholders, you've categorized them. Okay? Let's see the next step of it. How do you manage these identified stakeholders? There are a lot of people you have identified. There are quite to close a few of them, like we are having your suppliers, multiple suppliers can be there for your project, right? So how do you engage? You would try to identifying them, you're prioritizing the stakeholder needs, and you're engaging, okay? The first step of any project would be your identification, and what tasks you would be doing in the identification outcome would be stakeholder list would be generated out of that. Once you've identified, you would try to document the needs of the stakeholder. What does the document needs of the stakeholder mean? Any guesses? Yeah, that can be one of the needs for the stakeholder. And what else can it be? Yes? Sorry, can you come again?
Goals and objectives of the company.
Definitely, they would want to understand, yeah?
The previous year profits.
They would want to look at this profits, so say what they're getting into, they want to understand.
Last year's performance.
Definitely, definitely they want to do that. Also, they would want to understand, you should understand what the stakeholder wants to get out of your company. They would try to ask you all these details, but also you should understand what this, as a stakeholder, what are they expecting from you, okay? And you need to document those needs. Because unless you don't document them, you will never be able to meet the expectations, okay? So once you document it, you analyze their interest and the influence in the project. The stakeholder can be very much interested in your project or might be least bothered. Okay? And they might have a low influence on your project, or they cannot have any very high influence on the project as well. For example, in your case, the government is having very high influence on the project outcome, right? But it's having least interest, because they will not be bothered unless you go or approach them. But as a project manager, you would be having very much high interest on the project, but you will not have high influence on it, because you can only control certain aspects of the project. So once you've analyzed and addressed them, what is the outcome out of it? You would be able to understand where your stakeholder is standing at the end of the day. So what is his influence over the project? And how can he collaborate with you to deliver your outcome? What is the mutual goal you want to achieve out of it? Now you would go ahead to managing the expectations or meeting the expectations for the stakeholders. Because you've documented the needs, you know what they want. Now we need to meet the expectations. And how do you do that? You take action. And once you've taken action, this is all a repetitive process. And this phase would be continuously throughout all the phases of your project management, like initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, as well as your closure. Because this should be continuously processed. Once you establish the communication, should be a very clear and well-precise communication. Because without a proper communication for the stakeholders, you would never be able to close, because they would have their other expectations out of the project, and you're going to end moment for them, they would say, this is not what we expected from you. We are expecting something else. That would be a big surprise for them. So I hope you might have all done this as part of your exercise when you're doing the Company of the Year project, right? You've reached out to the stakeholders, you've understood their needs, you've done documented their needs, and then you've delivered them as well. Cool. Let's go ahead. So now we have seen, we know what's the interest versus the influence grid for the stakeholder is. They can have high interest and low influence. They can have high interest and high influence on the project, or a low interest and low influence, and a low interest and high influence. Now I just need one volunteer from among you people who can just relate with your project and categorize which one would fall into which bucket. Yeah, please. Great.
High interest, high influence will be us and our customers.
Customers would be what? Sorry?
High interest, high influence.
Okay.
They decide what a product is, and they are the ones who are buying it. If they don't buy it, we don't have a company at all.
That's a good answer, but customers might not have an influence on the product, right? Because they would be interested in the product. But the influence would be done from the other stakeholders, like for example.
Don't they decide what exactly the product is? Like, if, for example, if I come up with a product, but it doesn't meet the consumer needs, then it is absolutely worthless.
So they would, when you're designing any of the product, you're trying to identify the basic initiation of it when you're product designing it, right? You're trying to understand what the customer needs. But the customer would always have an interest in the product, but influence would be from your team, not from the end user customer.
Okay, so then I guess the team.
Okay.
Low interest, low influence will be government. As long as you're paying them taxes, they'll more or less let you operate.
Sorry, low interest, low influence.
Yeah, government.
But government can be a low interest, high influence, because they can shut down the product if it's not meeting the certain criteria. They can even block you from launching the product.
Then I guess the media?
Media, yes, you can say that.
And obviously the remaining.
See, these are the classifications, if you can see. Thank you very much. Sorry, I didn't get your name.
Shashwat.
Shashwat, thank you very much, Shashwat. So the project manager, end user, subcontractors, clients, and the project team would be your high interest and low influence team. And you have your sponsor and your portfolio management with high interest and high influence. And then low interest, low influence would be your supplier, because he's just concerned what he has to deliver. He's not interested to what he's do with the project at the end of the day. And your local communities. The local authorities and the government and the management would be your high influence, low interest. They would not be interested to know what is happening in your day-to-day activity, but they would hold high influence on the project which is being delivered. So any stakeholder and any project, whether it be in any industry, can be broadly classified into these 4 categories only. This is where you can identify and determine how you can communicate with them and engage in a much more meaningful discussion with them. So you have captured all the details, okay? Now where do you keep this information? You have to store somewhere, right? So do you know what information is needed in a stakeholder register? Any guesses? Yeah? Great. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes. Definitely. So broadly, the stakeholder register would hold your name, the classification, the project role they would be playing, and the requirements, outcome of the expectations like you have discussed over here. And their influence, the sentimental influences, what they would have or hold on these projects would also be done, okay? End of the day, the stakeholder classification is also done as part of this register. So this is a sample how a stakeholder register would look like. They have captured who are all your stakeholders and what are the roles in the project and how they are influencing their classifications and all, okay? Cool. So now you have assessed, registered the stakeholders. It's nothing but a logbook for you, okay? You've identified all your stakeholders, you've registered them. Now you need to assess. Because stakeholders can be of many categories. Sometimes they would say like, I'm not aware what you're doing as a project. And someone can be, I'm resistant, like you're suggesting a change, but they would be resistant to you and they would say, I don't want this change to happen. And they can be neutral. I would say, I would neither contribute, I would not even approve or disapprove for this thing. But ideal scenario would be to have a support to stakeholders throughout your project. And I believe that would be very difficult to achieve, but that's the ideal scenario where you want. So when you have a support to stakeholder, you would be working along with them to achieve your mutual goals towards the end. So that would be very much needed. So you have, in this assessment, you're seeing where they are currently present and what you want to be towards the end of the desired outcome of the stakeholder. With mutual and constant engagement with them and having a clear and precise communication plan with the stakeholders, you can move them from the current position to the desired outcome. So if once they move to the supportive role of the desired state, that's the best thing you can have for your project. You can deliver wonders. Cool. So now let's take a simple small case study, okay? Everyone is interested in the movies and I'm a very big fan of Tom Cruise and all. So what do you think would be a stakeholder in your movie making industry? Any guesses from across the room? Yeah?
The actors of the movie.
Yeah, great. They can be a stakeholder.
The director.
Popularity of that movie.
Sorry?
Popularity of that movie.
Popularity, like you mean to say the customers or the consumers who would be watching the movie?
Yes.
Yeah, great, yes.
The director, the producer.
Yes.
The scriptwriter.
Yeah, you're going through the entire list, yes. Good. Anyone else?
The government or any political influence in
Great.
movies.
That happens especially in India, so.
The
Anyone from this side?
censor boards and the unions are there. The censor boards and the unions.
Definitely, they can be a stakeholder.
The investors and the people who are
The
funding
producers, yes, definitely.
funding the project.
Yeah. From this side?
Pressure groups.
Can be, yes.
Then if the movie is on a particular subject, then the subject of that movie, so if it's a documentary, then the person
Definitely, yes. From here, behind. Yeah.
What about the media partners and those who provide the places for the shootings?
Great. So we have identified, you're bracketing them, right? They are having influence on the movie outcome as well. And you have seen, so this list of it is like you have your directors, lead actors, and you have your story writers, music people, and all the support staff who are there, and your camera personnel. And the list goes on. You have your executive producers, you have your studios, production lines, and you have your government and the local authorities for the permissions to do the shooting in the respective places. So you're able to identify, right? Now there's a stakeholder for your company as a project when you're doing it. These are the many lists. When you do and you deliver it, you'll be able to have a successful delivery for the project. So now moving ahead for the next topic for the day. So what's the risk? Definitely. Risk can be anything which you're not planned for. It can happen at any point of time. And as part of your project management, you want to plan and initiate, at the initiation phase itself, to identify your risk, to have a possible outcome, and to analyze what outcome would be of the risk would be impacting the project. It can have a negative outcome or it can have a positive outcome of the project. And once you've identified it, you need to prioritize the risk. The risk can be of a high risk or a low risk and a medium risk. If you're not categorizing them, you will never be able to understand what is the impact on your project. Okay? And the most important thing is to have an assigning of a risk owner. So what happens is, like, there's a scenario. We have done the wonderful project management. We have identified the risk, we have analyzed them, and we have prioritized them. But we forgot one crucial thing, to assign a risk owner. Now, once the risk has occurred, everyone would be waiting to someone else to step up and deliver or work on that. And you're just, it's a waiting game, right? So the most important thing when you're doing a risk management is to identify your risk owner who would be taking care of addressing the risk. And you always should have a response of the risk, like you have a risk response plan as well. Once you've done this, you're doing a monitoring of the risk. So in your projects, you have come across multiple obstacles, right? Those are the risks. Some of them you might have anticipated, and some of them you might have not anticipated at all. They have been just thrown at you. But what you do is, like, you just analyze what is happening at the point of time and try to overcome those risks. Okay? So let's see the different types of risks. Okay? We have studied about the scope creep. Now, let's assume that I am a toy manufacturer. Okay? For me, the initial requirement is to be given is the toy or the doll should have 2 legs, 2 hands, and a head. Nothing more. Now, I've gone ahead and I've developed that doll. Now, the feedback has come saying that I want the hands and legs to move and the eyes should close and open. Now, that's the scope creep for me, because it was not discussed initially that legs and hands should move and the eyes should close. Now, what would happen if a scope creep occurs? It would result in your cost to be increased, because initially you have planned only for a certain aspect of it. Now you have to procure more and more materials to have these moving parts in the doll. Now, once the costs are involved, what would impact the project? It's the timeline. For me, the go-to-market date for the doll is August. Now it has been pushed to December, because the doll entirely, the scope has been changed, and I can't deliver it on time. And this is in turn relating to me increasing the cost of the doll. And the next thing would be technology. I have only procured a small unit to just make the dolls, which are just standalone. Okay, now I have to improve my technology to have all the moving parts in this doll. This is again in turn resulting in me having a more cost inputs for the project, right? Now going ahead, you have your people. I don't need a skilled labor initially, but now I have to hire more skilled labor, because it's having a complexity of the doll has increased by tenfold. Okay, and this again is resulting in your impacting your cost as well as your time, because you can't hire people, skilled labor easily at the moment's notice, right? You have to have planning for that. Now going ahead, you would also have to have a clear communication at all these phases with your stakeholders. If you don't communicate with them, you will not have a clear agenda. Like, stakeholders would be still expecting the doll would be delivered by August, but you are not ready to deliver it by August, right? You are delivering it in December. So clear and concise plan with all the stakeholders involved is very much needed when any of the risk is occurring. And the last you have to see is the procurement. We have seen during the COVID times how the supply chain in market has been disrupted because of this procurement mistakes. People have not anticipated what the supply would be and the demand would be, and this has resulted in long wait times as well as spike in the inflation of the cost of the products. And most of the major sectors have been impacted because of this. So these are the 7 risks which would hamper any project, and you should always plan for these type of risks in your project. So, and as a part of a project manager, you need to always have an understanding what a RAID means. We have discussed so far. Can anyone take a wild guess what RAID means? Any answer, it's fine. Yeah, you can.
I think A might denote assessment, I for identification, and D for dealing with the risk. I'm really not sure about it.
It's okay. It's somewhat close, I would say. But see, R stands for your risk, where you have to analyze whether it's a threat or an opportunity for your project. And then you have your assumptions, stating that what you're taken for granted. You're starting your project, you're taking some certain things or characters as your assumptions that these are taken for granted. Then you have your issues, which you have identified. And then you have to, which might damage or jeopardize. And then you have your dependencies. Because of these dependencies, the project can be either successful or can be a failure. Okay? So the risk management always deals about opportunity and a threat. Whether it's an opportunity, you would have to exploit, share, enhance, and accept. You're exploiting to enhance your project or your deliverable, or the quality of the project can be improved. But it's a threat, you need to avoid, mitigate, and try to transfer the threat so that you are not it's not having a negative impact on your project. And at the end of the day, we always accept. Because whatever is a risk, whether it's an opportunity or a threat, you have to deal with it and address it. Okay? So let's take one quick case study of the building of a construction. What would be the risk involved in a construction building? Just random. Yeah. Yep, can be.
Making the building safe enough to handle any earthquakes or anything.
Definitely.
If the building does not get sold, like ensuring that there is need or demand
Costs
for it.
involved, yeah.
Value of that land might depreciate.
Definitely. So that's again an opportunity as well. When you're constructing, the value of the land is depreciated, it's an opportunity for you to make more out of it. But if it has increased, then it's again a negative threat for you. Okay? So you have identified and classified. Some of them can be an opportunity and some of them can be a threat. Because material cost has come down. It's a profit for you because you're building and you can procure them in bulk. The land prices have gone down. You can build more number in the same cost which you're doing initially. And at the same time, it's a dispute arising or your contract defaults are there and a payment or shortage of funds is occurring. Those all can be a threats for your project. Hope you're able to relate now you're done in your projects, right? The risks and the stakeholders, how you have done. So now moving at I would always like to say, gone are the days when we have been doing or dealing with the Excel sheets and the data which are dealing on, okay? Now we have moved on to the data area where we are dealing with those tools which enable us to have the plan and emphasize on your milestones for the project. These are some of the tools which you guys can leverage, which is free of cost for the students. And it would be having a great impact how you design your project to have a meaningful impact and a timely outcome for that. Then you have your, over here in Providence, we have been leveraging our ADO and Power BI. And the classic example of Power BI is how we have leveraged during the COVID times to have a sample of our data where the COVID cases are there and where the vaccinations are available so the team can take a timely effort. Cool. These are some of the examples we have been doing over here in our company where we deal with this infra. Cool. And we always say and always believe this mantra saying that life is a big project, okay, where we are our own managers. So let's take it one step at a time and always believe that teamwork means dream work. So, yeah.
Thank you, Kalyan and Nikhil, for such an engaging session. I'm sure the students here have had a lot of takeaways that they're not just going to apply in the projects coming, but life in general. And on that note, we would like to present a token of appreciation to Mr. Nikhil Rai. And Kalyan Sunkari. I would like to request Ms. Dinu ma'am to hand over the tokens.
Thank you. That was an amazing. Thank you. So much that the kids. Both of you get
A big round of applause, please.
Thank you for putting up with us. Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay. Do you want to try? You're going to join the photo? Yeah. You just come to look.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. So since, as you know, we are short on time, so we will begin with the next section of the day, which is the business presentation rehearsals. And I would request only the students to be here. Everybody who is not a student, which doesn't mean student in life, student right now, can step out, and then we will begin with the presentations.
All chaperones, observers, senior leaders into basic.
As well as the chaperones and the observers can step outside, and we can just have the students here.